Today we're diving into the world of MaxEnt, a powerful tool for modeling species distributions using presence-only data. This video is designed for ecologists and conservation biogeographers who want to understand the statistical foundations of MaxEnt. We'll explore how MaxEnt works, why it's widely used, and what makes it unique compared to other species distribution models. By the end, you'll have a clear grasp of how MaxEnt leverages data, handles challenges like sample bias, and produces meaningful predictions for biodiversity research. Let's begin our journey into the statistical explanation of MaxEnt. MaxEnt, short for Maximum Entropy, is a modeling program that predicts species distributions using only presence records. Unlike traditional methods that require both presence and absence data, MaxEnt works with the data most commonly available, where a species has been observed. This approach is especially valuable because systematic biological surveys are often sparse, but presence records from museums and herbaria are abundant. MaxEnt's strength lies in its ability to make the most of these records, providing ecologists with a practical way to estimate where species are likely to occur, even with limited data. Many regions, comprehensive presence-absence data are rare. Instead, ecologists rely on presence-only records collected over decades. These records, stored in herbaria and museums, represent a significant investment in biological science. The challenge is to extract meaningful patterns from these data, despite their limitations. MaxEnt was developed to address this need, offering a robust method for modeling species distributions when absence data are unavailable. Its adoption has transformed how researchers approach biodiversity mapping, conservation planning, and ecological forecasting. MaxEnt has been used in a wide range of ecological studies. Researchers have applied it to predict current species distributions, assess risks for conservation planning, understand environmental correlates, forecast changes due to climate or land transformation, and even compare model performance. Its versatility is evident in studies of hummingbirds in the Andes, stony corals globally, amphibians in California, and rare plants in Patagonia. Government and non-government organizations also use MaxEnt for large-scale biodiversity mapping, making it a cornerstone of modern conservation science. Key distinction in species distribution modeling is the type of data used. Presence-absence data collected through systematic surveys allow for traditional regression methods. However, such data are often limited. Presence-only data, while more abundant, come with their own challenges, such as sample bias and lack of information on species prevalence. MaxEnt is specifically designed to work with presence-only data, making it an essential tool when absence data are missing or unreliable. Understanding these differences is crucial for choosing the right modeling approach. Presence-only data are not without limitations. One major issue is sample selection bias. Some areas are sampled more intensively than others, often due to accessibility or researcher interest. This bias can distort the model's predictions, as the data may not represent the true distribution of the species. Additionally, presence-only data lack information on species prevalence, making it impossible to determine the proportion of occupied site. MaxEnt addresses these challenges through statistical techniques, but it's important to recognize the inherent constraints of the data. The heart of MaxEnt is the concept of entropy, a measure of uncertainty or dispersedness. MaxEnt seeks the probability distribution that is closest to uniform maximum entropy while still fitting the observed presence data. In statistical terms, it minimizes the relative entropy or Kullback-Leibler divergence between the observed data and the background environment. This approach ensures that the model is as unbiased as possible, given the constraints imposed by the data. It's a powerful way to make predictions without overfitting to the available records. MaxEnt, environmental variables such as climate, topography, and soil are called covariates. These covariates are transformed into features, expanded sets of variables that capture complex relationships between the environment and species presence. MaxEnt automatically creates features like linear, quadratic, hinge, and threshold transformations, allowing the model to fit nonlinear and interactive effects. This flexibility enables MaxEnt to capture the nuanced ways species respond to their environment, making its predictions more accurate and informative. Landscape in MaxEnt modeling is the geographic area of interest, defined by the ecologist based on the study's goals. It could be a region bounded by natural barriers or the potential dispersal range of a species. The background sample drawn from this landscape provides the environmental context against which presence records are compared. Choosing the right landscape is critical, as it influences the model's predictions and their ecological relevance. Including or excluding certain areas can change the interpretation of the results. MaxEnt estimates the ratio of the probability density of covariates at present sites to that across the entire landscape. It does this by finding the distribution that matches the observed data while remaining as close as possible to the background distribution. The result is a model that highlights areas with environmental conditions similar to those where the species has been observed. This approach provides insight into habitat suitability and helps identify potential areas for conservation or further study. To avoid overfitting, MaxEnt uses a technique called regularization. This process penalizes overly complex models, encouraging simpler solutions that generalize better to new data. Regularization parameters can be adjusted by the user, but MaxEnt provides sensible defaults based on extensive testing. By balancing model fit and complexity, MaxEnt ensures that its predictions are both accurate and robust, even when working with limited or biased data. MaxEnt offers two main types of output, raw and logistic. The raw output estimates relative suitability, while the logistic output attempts to approximate the probability of presence given the environment. The logistic transformation is especially useful for ranking sites by suitability, as it bounds predictions between 0 and 1. However, it's important to note that the logistic output depends on assumptions about species prevalence, which cannot be directly estimated from presence-only data. Understanding this limitation is key to interpreting MaxEnt results correctly. Using MaxEnt, it's crucial to interpret the outputs in context. The logistic output provides a relative measure of habitat suitability, not an absolute probability of occurrence. Differences in sampling effort, species rarity, and landscape definition can all influence the results. For cross-species comparisons, care must be taken, as the same logistic value may represent different ecological realities for rare versus common species. Expert knowledge and additional data can help refine interpretations and guide conservation decisions. Sample bias is a significant concern in presence-only modeling. MaxEnt provides tools to address this, such as using bias grids or selecting background samples that mirror the biases in the presence data. For example, if certain areas are more frequently surveyed, the background sample can be weighted accordingly. This helps ensure that the model's predictions are not unduly influenced by uneven sampling effort, leading to more reliable and ecologically meaningful results. Choice of background sample is fundamental in MaxEnt modeling. The background should represent the area accessible to the species, considering barriers to dispersal and known habitat preferences. Including areas where the species could never occur can distort the model, while excluding reachable areas can limit its predictive power. Masks and custom background samples allow users to tailor the landscape to the ecological realities of the species, improving the accuracy and relevance of the predictions. MaxEnt automatically selects which feature types to use based on the amount of data available. For small sample sizes, it restricts the model to simpler features, reducing the risk of overfitting. As more data become available, more complex features can be included, allowing the model to capture intricate ecological relationships. Users can also manually adjust feature settings to suit their specific research questions or data characteristics. Regularization is a cornerstone of MaxEnt's approach to model fitting. By penalizing complexity, it encourages models that generalize well to new data. MaxEnt's default regularization settings are based on extensive empirical testing, but users can increase regularization for smoother models or decrease it for more detailed fits. The key is to balance model accuracy with interpretability, ensuring that predictions are both meaningful and actionable for conservation and management. Comparing MaxEnt models for different species, it's important to remember that the logistic output is relative to the sampling effort and prevalence of each species. For rare species, presence records may reflect more intensive sampling than for common species. This means that direct comparisons of predicted probabilities across species can be misleading unless sampling effort is standardized or additional information is incorporated. Thoughtful interpretation is essential for meaningful cross-species analyses. Let's look at a real-world example, modeling the distribution of Banksia prinotes, a shrub native to southwest Western Australia. Researchers used MaxEnt to predict its current and future distribution under climate change scenarios. By carefully selecting background samples and addressing survey bias, they produced models that reflected the species' known ecology. The study highlighted the importance of landscape definition, feature selection, and regularization in producing reliable predictions for conservation planning. Banksia prinote study compared models using different background samples, atlas sites, the Southwest Australian floristic region, and all of Australia. Each choice led to different predictions, emphasizing the impact of landscape definition. The model using atlas background produced a distribution consistent with the species' ecology, while broader backgrounds introduced more uncertainty. The study also demonstrated the use of cross-validation and MES maps to assess model performance and extrapolation to novel environments. MES maps, or multivariate environmental similarity surfaces, are a valuable tool in MaxEnt for identifying areas where the model is extrapolating beyond the range of the training data. In the Banksia prinotes case, MES maps revealed that future climate scenarios would create novel environments in parts of the species range. Recognizing these areas is crucial, as predictions in novel environments are inherently uncertain and require cautious interpretation. Another example involves modeling the distribution of Gadopsis bispinosus, a native freshwater fish in southeastern Australia. Using detailed environmental data at the river segment scale, researchers applied MaxEnt to predict the species' occurrence. This case demonstrated MaxEnt's flexibility in handling non-gridded vector-based data and its ability to incorporate complex ecological variables, such as climate, slope, and riparian vegetation, across multiple spatial scales. Partial dependence plots are a useful way to visualize how individual environmental variables influence the predicted probability of species presence. In the Gadopsis bispinosus study, these plots showed that the species prefers larger streams in montane areas with high precipitation and steep slopes. Such visualizations help ecologists interpret model results, identify key habitat requirements, and guide management action. MaxEnt models are typically evaluated using metrics like the area under the receiver operating characteristic curve, AUC, and correlation coefficients. Cross-validation, where data are split into training and testing sets, provides an estimate of how well the model generalizes to new data. High AUC values indicate strong discrimination between suitable and unsuitable habitats, but it's important to consider ecological realism and the potential for overfitting when interpreting these metrics. While MaxEnt is a powerful tool, it has limitations. The most significant is the non-identifiability of species prevalence from presence-only data. This means that absolute probabilities of occurrence cannot be determined without additional information. Sample bias, incomplete environmental data, and the choice of background can also affect model outcomes. Being aware of these limitations helps users apply MaxEnt appropriately and interpret results with the necessary caution. MaxEnt continues to evolve, with new features and capabilities added regularly. Recent updates include improved cross-validation, mesh maps for assessing extrapolation, and interactive maps that allow users to explore predictions spatially. These tools enhance the transparency and interpretability of MaxEnt models, making them even more valuable for ecological research and conservation planning. Get the most out of MaxEnt, follow best practices, carefully select background samples, address sample bias, choose appropriate feature types, and use regularization to prevent overfitting. Validate models with cross-validation and interpret outputs in the context of ecological knowledge and data limitations. Collaboration with experts and use of supplementary data can further enhance model reliability and relevance. MaxEnt's ability to predict species distributions from limited data makes it a valuable tool for conservation planning. It helps identify priority areas for protection, assess risks from climate change, and guide field surveys. By integrating MaxEnt outputs with other ecological and socioeconomic data, conservationists can make informed decisions to protect biodiversity and manage natural resources effectively. One of MaxEnt's most important applications is forecasting the impacts of climate change on species distributions. By projecting models onto future climate scenarios, researchers can identify areas likely to become suitable or unsuitable for target species. This information is critical for proactive conservation, allowing managers to anticipate range shifts and plan for habitat connectivity or assisted migration. MaxEnt models can be integrated with other spatial and statistical tools to enhance their utility. For example, combining MaxEnt outputs with land use data, connectivity analyses, or population models provides a more comprehensive understanding of species prospects. Such integration supports holistic approaches to biodiversity conservation and ecosystem management. Beyond academic research, MaxEnt is used by government agencies, NGOs, and land managers for real-world biodiversity mapping and policy development. Its transparent methodology and accessible software make it a practical choice for informing environmental impact assessments, reserve design, and species recovery planning. The widespread adoption of MaxEnt underscores its value in bridging science and policy. A wealth of resources is available for learning MaxEnt, including online tutorials, user guides, and case studies. The MaxEnt software is regularly updated, and its user community is active in sharing tips and troubleshooting. Engaging with these resources helps users stay current with best practices and new features, ensuring that their modeling efforts are both effective and up-to-date. MaxEnt modeling often benefits from collaboration among ecologists, statisticians, GIS specialists, and local experts. Each brings unique insights from data collection and cleaning to model interpretation and application. Collaborative approaches ensure that models are grounded in ecological reality, statistically sound, and tailored to the needs of conservation practitioners. As ecological data and computational tools advance, MaxEnt is poised to play an even greater role in biodiversity science. Ongoing research aims to improve its handling of sample bias, integrate new types of environmental data, and enhance its ability to model dynamic processes like dispersal and adaptation. Staying engaged with the MaxEnt community and emerging literature will help users make the most of these innovations. Recap: MaxEnt is a flexible, statistically grounded tool for modeling species distributions from presence-only data. Its strengths include the ability to handle complex environmental relationships, address sample bias, and provide actionable insights for conservation. However, users must be mindful of its limitations, especially regarding prevalence estimation and the influence of background selection. Applying best practices ensures that MaxEnt models are both robust and relevant. MaxEnt has become a cornerstone of modern biodiversity science, enabling researchers and practitioners to make the most of available data. Its applications span from academic research to practical conservation, supporting efforts to understand, predict, and protect the world's species. As challenges like climate change and habitat loss intensify, tools like MaxEnt will remain vital for informed decision-making and effective stewardship of natural resources. If you're new to MaxEnt, start by exploring the official tutorials and user guides. Practice with sample datasets to become familiar with the software's interface and options. Experiment with different feature types, background selections, and regularization settings to see how they affect model outputs. Engaging with the MaxEnt community can provide valuable support and inspiration as you develop your modeling skills. Common pitfalls in MaxEnt modeling include using inappropriate background samples, neglecting sample bias, and overfitting models with too many features. Solutions include thoughtful background selection, use of bias grids, regularization, and cross-validation. Always interpret results in light of ecological knowledge and data limitations, and seek feedback from colleagues or experts when in doubt. MaxEnt's user-friendly interface and extensive documentation make it accessible even to those without advanced statistical training. By following step-by-step guides and leveraging community resources, non-experts can build reliable models and contribute valuable insights to conservation and ecological research. The key is to approach modeling thoughtfully and seek guidance when needed. MaxEnt is increasingly used in educational settings to teach concepts of species distribution modeling, statistical inference, and conservation planning. Its intuitive outputs and real-world relevance make it an excellent tool for engaging students and illustrating the challenges and opportunities of ecological modeling. Incorporating MaxEnt into coursework can inspire the next generation of conservation scientists. MaxEnt promotes transparency and reproducibility in ecological modeling by encouraging the use of open data and clear documentation. Sharing datasets, code, and model settings allows others to replicate results, build on previous work, and advance the field collectively. Open science practices are essential for building trust and fostering collaboration in biodiversity research. As with any modeling tool, ethical considerations are important when using MaxEnt. Ensure that sensitive species data are handled responsibly, especially for threatened or endangered species. Consider the potential impacts of sharing location data and model outputs, and follow best practices for data privacy and conservation ethics. Citizen science initiatives generate vast amounts of presence-only data, making MaxEnt an ideal tool for harnessing these resources. By modeling distributions from citizen-contributed records, researchers can expand the geographic and taxonomic scope of their studies, engage the public in science, and inform conservation efforts at larger scales. Future of MaxEnt is bright, with ongoing developments in data collection, computational power, and ecological theory. As new challenges emerge in biodiversity conservation, MaxEnt will continue to adapt, providing researchers and practitioners with the tools they need to understand and protect our planet's species. Staying informed and engaged with the MaxEnt community ensures that users can take full advantage of these advances. Summary: MaxEnt is a powerful, flexible, and accessible tool for modeling species distributions from presence-only data. Its statistical foundations, practical features, and wide range of applications make it indispensable for ecologists and conservationists. By following best practices, addressing data limitations, and collaborating with others, users can unlock the full potential of MaxEnt for biodiversity science and conservation. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of MaxEnt. May your modeling efforts contribute to a deeper understanding and better stewardship of our natural world.